Every year, there are a bunch of different videos going over the best gun in the game. We can all figure out what we think is the best gun in the game based on feel, but what do the numbers say? Black Ops 6 makes this easier than ever to determine with the newly added detailed stats screen. In this video, we're going to take a look at the best assault rifles in the game based on the numbers. Let's do it. There are 7 assault rifles in the game, 6 of which are fully auto, and 1 is semi-auto. Let's start off with the most important aspect when determining the best gun in the game, time to kill. These are also the updated values after the assault rifle nerf came on Monday, so we're looking at totally up-to-date figures here. When we run the calculation on the base effective damage, which is the shortest range the weapon will be effective at and do the most damage, we find that the GPR actually has the worst time to kill at 336 milliseconds and will be a 5-shot kill at this range. Next is the AIMS 85, with a time to kill of 320 milliseconds, which will also be a 5-bullet kill. But this damage is carried the longest of the ARs, being effective between 0 and 51 meters. Then, the Model L and XM4 are tied with a 300 millisecond time to kill, with the Model L taking 4 shots to kill and having a greater range, while the XM4 takes 5 shots to kill and gets cut off at 40 meters. Next, the AK-74 has a time to kill of 276 milliseconds, needing 4 bullets to kill, but it has one of the shorter damage ranges at this time to kill, reaching only 38 meters. In second place, we have the AS Val with a super high RPM and 268 milliseconds time to kill. Still a 5-shot kill, however, but that RPM value of 896 brings the time to kill way down. This time to kill will only be effective up to 21 meters. And the best assault rifle in terms of time to kill is the Goblin Mark II, with a time to kill of 260 milliseconds. This doesn't come as a surprise considering it's a semi-auto rifle, and they've always had higher damage values. The Goblin is the only AR taking 3 bullets to kill, but after actually using it, it's far from the best AR in the game. Moving on to the mid-range and beyond effective range values, this is where that nerf starts to hit a little bit. All assault rifle damage ranges have been cut down between 0 and 6 meters, while some of the assault rifles only have 2 damage range calculation values now in the AK-74, AIMS 85, Model L, and Goblin Mark II. In these mid-range gunfights, not a surprise here, the GPR 91 is actually still the worst with a time to kill of 336 milliseconds. Next is the AS Val. This thing got hit the hardest with the nerf, where before it had a time to kill of 268 milliseconds up to 43 meters, it now has a time to kill of 335 milliseconds up to 43 meters, and will be a 6-bullet kill at this range. Next is the AIMS 85, having a time to kill of 320 milliseconds, but like I mentioned above, it carries this time to kill up to 51 meters, so between distances of 40 and 50 meters, the AIMS will actually have one of the best time to kill values. Next, we have the Model L and XM4 with a time to kill of 300 milliseconds through these mid-ranges. The XM4 will carry this up to 41 meters, while the Model L will actually carry this until 45 meters, while also remaining a 4-bullet kill, making it one of the best ARs in the game just based off of this alone. Then, we have the AK-74, which carries its time to kill of 276 milliseconds up to a range of 38 meters. Lastly, the Goblin will keep its low time to kill of 260 milliseconds up to a range of 39 meters. Looking at the long-range time to kill values, once again, the GPR 91 remains the worst with a staggering 420 millisecond time to kill at ranges past 45 meters. I haven't used the GPR post-patch yet, but this does not look good for it. Next is the AS Val, with a time to kill of 402 milliseconds past 43 meters and taking 7 bullets to kill. Next, we have the AIMS 85 and Model L, each with a time to kill of 400 milliseconds at their longest ranges. But as mentioned several times, the AIMS 85 carries its effective range much farther than all of the other ARs. Next, we have the Goblin. It becomes a 4-bullet kill at distances greater than 39 meters with a time to kill of 390 milliseconds. Then, we have the XM4 with a time to kill of 375 milliseconds at distances over 40 meters, and the AK-74, which has the shortest effective range of any of the ARs, and will become a 5-bullet kill with a time to kill of 368 milliseconds at ranges greater than 38 meters. Anything past 50 meters, the AK-74 will have the best time to kill. but it will feel slightly worse than other ARs at those mid-ranges between 38 and 50 meters. Overall, just by looking at this data, the XM4 will likely feel the best at all ranges. You'll notice improvement in short and long ranges with other ARs, but as for a jack-of-all-trades assault rifle, you can't beat the XM4. One of the biggest concerns with every weapon is the ability to control its recoil and its recoil pattern. Let's take a look at all of the assault rifle recoil patterns. The XM4 has moderate vertical recoil at the start of the firing process, but quickly goes to heavy horizontal recoil to the right. It goes into that heavy horizontal recoil after about 15 bullets, so if you're spraying, make sure to control the horizontal recoil halfway through the magazine. The AK-74 has heavy vertical recoil and moderate horizontal recoil bouncing from left to right. This type of horizontal recoil can be more difficult to control just based on the fact that it's bouncing back and forth from left to right. The AIMS-85 is very similar to the XM4, except the horizontal recoil goes heavy to the left and the vertical recoil is a little tighter. The GPR-91 has very heavy vertical recoil and almost no horizontal recoil. When building for the GPR, make sure to focus on vertical recoil, and it'll naturally be easier to control since it's mostly all vertical recoil and won't be bouncing from side to side. The Model L has heavy vertical recoil and moderate horizontal recoil. The horizontal kicks to the right after 10 shots, and then back to the left after another 10 shots. The Goblin Mark II is a semi-auto rifle, so naturally there will be very little recoil of any kind, and as you can see, this is the case. A little bit of vertical recoil, but the spread is very tight overall. The AS-Val has very heavy vertical recoil, which is usually the case for the high rate of fire ARs, and it has moderate horizontal recoil. It will kick to the right after 10 shots and then straighten up at the end. If you take a look at all of the recoil patterns side by side, the AIMS-85 actually has one of the tighter spreads here, and it looks like it'll be the easiest to control. But for the most part, the recoils aren't that bad on the assault rifles, and they shouldn't be an issue. Moving on to the mobility stats for assault rifles, we're mainly focused on movement speed, sprint movement speed, and aim walking movement speed, or strafing ability. The results aren't that shocking. Most of the ARs have very similar stats here. When looking at the movement speed, all of the assault rifles have anywhere between 4.8 meters per second to 5 meters per second, with the Goblin Mark II and GPR actually having the best movement speed here, and the AK-74 having the worst movement speed. Next, we have the sprint movement speed, which again is very similar. The GPR-91 has the best sprint movement speed at 6.6 meters per second, with the AIMS-85 and AK-74 having the worst at 6.4 meters per second. All of the other ARs are right in between that at 6.5 meters per second. Not a crazy difference here, and all ARs will feel roughly the same in this area. Lastly, we have aim walking movement speed, or strafe speed. Not surprising, all of the ARs are very similar here as well, with the GPR-91 and Goblin Mark II again having the best stats here at 3.3 meters per second. All of the other ARs are right there though at 3.2 meters per second. So in terms of mobility, the GPR takes the slight edge in all of these categories, and that's not surprising if you've ever used it. It truly feels like a flex assault rifle, and the mobility feels really good with it, and since it's the weakest AR at all ranges, this totally makes sense. Moving on to the handling stats for assault rifles, we're going to be looking at reload and empty reload quickness, ADS speed, sprint to fire speed, and slide to fire speed. Starting with the reload quickness, these values are the full reload with at least one bullet in the mag still, plus the animation values. The AS-Val easily takes this one with a 1.87 second reload speed, which is almost 1 second faster than the next fastest in the AK-74 at 2.73 seconds. The Model L and XM4 are right behind with a reload speed of 2.83 and 2.86 respectively. And then the Goblin, AIMS-85, and GPR-91 all have a reload speed of 3 seconds. Moving on to the empty reload quickness, which is the speed at which the gun will reload when the magazine is completely empty. The values actually change a fair bit. The AS-Val is still the quickest here with a speed of 2.4 seconds, a full 0.53 seconds slower than normal reload speed. The AK-74 takes a hit here, having an empty reload speed of 3.2 seconds, which is the third slowest in this category. The Model L also takes a big hit, going from the third best in terms of reload speed to the second worst for empty reload speed. from 2.83 seconds to 3.23 seconds. The XM4 increases slightly, having an empty reload speed of 3.17 seconds. The GPR barely changes at all, going from the slowest regular reload speed to the second fastest empty reload at 3.03 seconds. The Goblin has an empty reload speed of 3.23 seconds, and the Ames 85 takes a massive hit here, going from 3 seconds to 3.73 seconds, almost a full second longer to reload an empty mag. Moving into the ADS speed values, the GPR actually has the fastest ADS at 225 milliseconds. The AS Val is next at 230 milliseconds. The Goblin actually has surprisingly fast ADS at 245 milliseconds. The XM4, Ames 85, and Model L are all very tight at 260, 265, and 270 milliseconds respectively. And lastly, we have the AK-74 at 290 milliseconds, which isn't surprising considering it's one of the harder hitting ARs. Next, we're looking at sprint to fire speed, which is huge in this game considering you're almost always sprinting backwards, forwards, or sideways. The GPR 91 wins another category with the 165 millisecond sprint to fire speed. The AS Val and Goblin come in second with 180 millisecond sprint to fire. The XM4, Ames 85, and Model L all have a sprint to fire speed of 190 milliseconds. And lastly, again, the AK-74 has a sprint to fire of 205 milliseconds. Lastly, looking at slide to fire speed, which is huge this year as it's one of the biggest aspects of Omni movement, all of the ARs actually have the same value of 370 milliseconds here. So what are these numbers actually telling us? Well, if we grade every category from best to worst using a numbered scale, the AS Val actually has the best stats overall, with the XM4 and AK-74 close behind. But numbers aren't everything, and they can't account for the feel of a weapon, map awareness, or aiming ability, so every gun is going to work differently for each individual. What do I think? Personally, I think the XM4 is the best assault rifle in the game right now. It's not amazing at anything, but it's not bad at anything either. It's the perfect jack-of-all-trades assault rifle. If you want to outgun someone at range, the XM4 has the second best time to kill at longer ranges. If you want to get frisky and play a little quicker with close quarters combat, the XM4 is third best time to kill in class up close, and it has decent mobility and handling stats as well. If you want other options, the Model L was very fun to use and packs a hard punch at all ranges. And the AS Val is truly still a great option even after the nerf. And if you're feeling real weird, try out the Goblin. I'm not a fan of semi-auto rifles, but the Goblin ended up feeling very good. What do you guys think? What is your favorite assault rifle to use in the game right now? Let me know in the comments, and if you're still here, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll catch you in the next video. We'll chat then.